Obviously, yesterday was a very, very embarrassing day for Manchester United. And I don't actually want to start off by slagging Man United off. I want to start off by speaking about Phil Foden. There's been a lot of debates and a lot of questions about him recently. Is he better than Saka? Is he world-class? Is he not? Put the Saka debate aside for a minute. Maybe one of you wants to bring that up, but that's your prerogative. But there's a lot of people saying he isn't world-class yet. Did he prove to everybody yesterday with the quality of goals, the level of performance in a title race, in a Manchester derby they were losing, that he is the real deal and that he is a world-class football player?
He's always had world-class talent. I don't think anyone here can deny that. I think we always had an issue with his consistency, but it wasn't really because of him. It's because of the manager, which is why a lot of people throughout the years said he should demand a move. Because let's not forget, Foden has been there for a minute. Obviously, he's from the academy, so I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about him being in the first team. We still keep talking about Foden like he's about to break into the first team every season, like he hasn't been there for about, 5, 6 of them now? He used to play behind David Silva, and how long ago was it when David Silva left? And we all thought he's going to be the successor for David Silva when he leaves, but he hasn't. I think every time he plays, he shows his quality. But to call him world-class, I'm just going to be consistent. I want to see him play and be. I think he's currently the best player in City, like on form this season. Obviously, De Bruyne was injured and all that. I'll finish and obviously I'll let you go. But I'm just saying, I would just love to see Foden because I do like him really as a footballer. I would love to see him play game in, game out, proving that he is world class because I really do think he's world class. But I can never call him world class when he just randomly comes off the bench some games, randomly like doesn't play some games, randomly plays like 5 games in a row, then misses like 3 games in a row. It's just been his story with City since he came into this first team. And they think the only thing that's stopping him from that status is just his game time. So if it's on just what we see on the pitch, what he did yesterday, I'm having nightmares about Foden now. Every time he plays, there's at least 1 goal, 1 assist. I've had enough of this guy. He's absolutely insane.
Yeah, and he's been given that responsibility. Go on, Ram.
I was gonna say when it comes to Foden, I think the main thing with me was the fact that we've always tagged him as world-class talent, or possibly even some people putting generational talent. And the one thing that people have been crying for Foden is element of consistency and doing it in the big moments. We only saw glimpses of that in 2019 during that COVID season, where I think it was his first like breakout season for City. He scored a lot of important goals for them, and then ever since then they should sort of been in the out of the limelight. Not really. He's coming off the bench. Obviously, Grealish taking his place. Mahrez at the time was not gonna. He wasn't gonna get taken out of his place as well. But now, all of a sudden, he's come through the ranks and started to prove again why he is a world-class talent. But it comes with both of them. For me, Saka, again, he's on that world-class talent trajectory, but he still needs to do it for me and get a trophy under his belt where he does the most important thing, which is maybe score a clutch goal or clutch assist in a title race or even in the Champions League. That's, for me, is what's stopping him from being on that world-class level.
I hate this clutch goal thing that we always say. I'm pretty sure if I go back and look at Foden's career, he's had a lot of clutch goals. You know why we don't remember?
Foden's won trophies as well. I need to play the
part. But the thing is,
now he wants him to win a trophy on his own, where he carries the team and like this is Foden's trophy.
But it's impossible. Do you know what?
It's never going to happen in the City team. 100%.
Exactly. And do you know what I see with Foden? Foden's getting the same level of disrespect that I see Ryan Giggs and Paul Scholes get, but we're seeing it in real time. Ryan Giggs and Paul Scholes were world-class players, consistent players, but they were just also in a team where there was 2, 3, 4, 5 people that were delivering for the side. If you go back to that treble-winning season, if you go to the running, so that the big semi-finals, the finals, final games of the season, it wasn't one player that scored all our goals. We didn't have a Gerrard who scored in the semi-finals and finals of the Champions League, scored on the final day of the season, and assisted 3 goals in the FA Cup final. You go back to a lot of those games, Roy Keane, Dwight York, Andy Cole, David Beckham, Paul Scholes, Teddy Sheringham, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, they all contributed those clutch goals. And of course, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is remembered because it's played so much more. But you know, Teddy Sheringham scored the most important goal in the FA Cup final and probably the most important goal in the Champions League final, but isn't looked at in the same way. Foden's had loads of big moments, and not always in the seasons where they've won things, but he's had loads of big moments. He scored loads of important goals. Even just looking at his statistics, the idea that he only did it in the COVID season, this guy's been
crazy.
If you look at
he's matched David Silva's record, bro. He's got 77 goals.
If we just look at his output, this man has 78 goals and 51 assists in his first 250 Man City games. He's only 23. So much of that has been done in the early stage of his career. He has been a pivotal member of a team that's won 5 Premier Leagues, a Champions League, 2 FA Cups. I want to say 4 or 5 League Cups. This kid has ability, goals, consistency, can play multiple positions, and has been an integral part, not the superstar, but an integral part in multiple title-winning teams, multiple trophy-winning teams. For me, he is the sheer definition of what a world-class player is. He has it all.
And this season, Terry, and this season, Terry, where he's been given that responsibility to step in while KDB's been injured. Because at the start of the season, the conversation was, listen, Foden's now getting an opportunity. Before, obviously, there's politics. Like, he had Mahrez ahead of him. He had Bernardo Silva ahead of him. Pep probably trusted them a lot more, right? Certain games, Foden would start, but most of the time, you'd see him on the bench and you'd see him come on and still contribute, right? You'd still get an assist or you still get a goal, or things will still be going through him where he's contributing and helping his team win the games, right? But now you're actually seeing this world-class talent actually stepping up and performing at a world-class level, right?
And this is why.
And one thing about Foden, hold on, Ram, yeah. And one thing about Foden as well, bro, to not get loaned out by Man City with all these world-class players that they've got, a world-class manager, for Pep to literally look at him and say, listen, I'm gonna mold you, yeah. Because at the beginning, Pep wasn't playing him when he first broke through. He was bedding him in here and there, giving him minutes here and there, giving him minutes here and there. And then now look at him. He's helped to develop him into the player that he is. Obviously, the first game I ever saw Foden was in the FA Youth Cup when he played against Chelsea and they lost that game, yeah? But I remember I was watching him. He was tiny. It's like, yo, who's this Phil Foden guy? Because he scored in that FA Youth Cup final. I said, this guy's going all the way to the top. Do you know what I'm saying? It's clear, like natural ability, clear. And I've seen a few Chelsea fans getting mad about what Scholes said about him and Lampard. For me, I don't think it was a wild take. I think naturally he's more gifted than Lampard. Lampard wasn't naturally gifted in terms of the natural ability. He was a good footballer, but a lot of what he did was because of his hard work. Phil Foden, a lot of what he does, you can't coach, bro. You can't teach it. You know what I'm saying?
Phil Foden's career, barring some City players and barring some Man United players, his career is clear of most English players to ever have played in the Premier League. Because you have to look at the trophies and the trophies that he has been integral in winning. 5 Premier Leagues he's already got.
And he's played parts in it as well, not just sitting there like Bruce.
I think maybe the first one, it might have been very minimal, but at least the last 4, he has played a lot of games, scored a lot of goals, and been an integral part of the team and squad. Like his career, and he's still only just getting started. He's 23. He's just getting started now. This kid's going nowhere. He's going nowhere. You've got another 10 years of this motherfucker. Like,
if they win the league this year, he probably wins Player of the Year. For the entire Premier League, he's been that good.
Mm-hmm. I'm
sorry, on a base level, on a base level, if you win Premier League Player of the Year, you've got to be at least world class because you've beaten out world class players to win that award.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Kate?
I was going to say Foden to me was the difference yesterday between the two teams from the beginning, but he gives me Gaza vibes. I just think he is incredible.
It's a lot more than that, Kate.
Absolutely. Steffi, just shut up. He does. He reminds me of Paul Gascoigne. I think he's an incredible talent. I don't understand the comparison to Saka. From what I'm reading in the chat and what I hear, the only people who will argue that Saka is better than Foden are Arsenal fans, and that's a tribalist thing. And I get that. For me, there's absolutely no contest whatsoever. Foden is miles clear. He is the most incredible player.
Miles. In terms of talents in this English generation, he's a leader.
Just inject it. When you say miles clear, like break that down for us, Kate, please.
Well, I think that Foden is world class. In my opinion, I think he's proved that this year. He's grown up, matured, and he looks a different sort of gravy to Saka. So I don't think Saka's world class. I don't think he's nearly world class. I put him a couple of levels below. So that's what I mean by miles clear, because I think Foden can walk into any team and make them better. Saka, I don't, because he disappears too much in games for me.
Saka. The funny thing, Saka disappears in games. Saka does this. Saka does that. He's had a shit season this season, even though the stats proved that he was like for like on stats with Foden. They were both
we've got
the same
eyes, man.
with goals and assists.
We
When
can't
goal
be
and assists
doing this,
on
man.
technical ability, of course. Foden is better than him on technical ability, of course. But output, bro, Saka's just up there. And
Terry,
that's the
I'm
reason
gonna
why.
add
That's
to
the
this.
reason why.
The only guy.
Hold on. Let me just say something. 1 second. Saka's adaptability to adapt to situations is very good. Yeah, that's why I think that Saka, the fact that Foden can't get a starting place in that team, and I think Saka would walk into that Man City team and would
Foden scored
now he
Foden has started 25 out of 26
games. He would demand the starting position and would demand a starting position.
Foden has started 25.
This is what I mean.
Phil Foden has started 25 out of 26 games for Man City this season. How is that not a starter?
Because he'll get dropped, bro. He'll get dropped in certain games.
Let me ask you a question then. So
Saka will never get dropped, bro. He'll never get dropped.
Saka starts. Hold on, let me ask you a few questions inside. So Saka starts ahead of Mahrez and Silva last season on the right for Man City last season.
Silva, maybe not Mahrez, because I actually rate Mahrez highly.
He starts ahead of Silva on the.
No, he doesn't start ahead of
Bernardo Silva is not a winger, bro.
Silva's probably better than Mahrez.
What do you mean? He played as a winger.
He was playing as a winger last season, but what are you talking about?
He was playing as a makeshift winger. Okay, if we're gonna do that, Bernardo Silva played as a makeshift winger, played in the midfield, played at left back, bro. The guy was playing all over the place, so he didn't have a definitive position. Has he been playing right wing for all of his career at Man City? No, he hasn't. He's been playing centrally. He's been playing.
No, but he started his career as a right winger.
Don't change the question. Don't change the question.
Can I ask you a question? Do you think if Saka went to Do you think if Saka went to Manchester City, he wouldn't be rested for certain games when you consider that Pep rests everybody for certain games?
No, I think he'd be rested for games. But all I'm saying is, in the times that Saka would be in that team, where Foden was in that team, I think he would have gotten into that team.
I'm going to say this.
And actually being able to stamp a position down.
Saka is absolutely brilliant. Everyone knows I rate him. The difference is this. I've seen Arsenal fans for the past 2 to 3 years complain, and rightfully so, about the amount of game time Saka has had for a young player. If Saka was coming through Arsenal when you were at your now, his first game of this season, he wouldn't be starting as many as he did initially, because you had someone else on the right or someone else on the left that was of a top level. You could bleed him in. You could bleed him in over a period of time. Saka at times was thrown in the deep end, and he did a fantastic job. There's no doubt. Saka's got the ability to play for Man City, in my opinion. There's no doubt about it. I think he's good enough. If he was part of City's academy, he'd be part of this City squad. But he, in the same way Foden has been, would have been bled into this team and nurtured slowly, and not just thrown in the way he was at Arsenal. The same as if Garnacho, I'm not saying he's as good, but if Garnacho was at these clubs, he wouldn't have started the amount of games he has this year. He would have been slowly bled in. Typically speaking, young players are bled in. Every now and then you get a player 18, 19 that starts every single game, but typically they're bled in until their early 20s. That is
when Terry broke through. Hold on, Ram. Yeah, Terry. When Ram. See, now I'm saying when Ram broke through at Arsenal. Now you play for Arsenal as well. When Saka broke through at Arsenal, yeah, they were a mess with some rubbish players, bro. Rubbish players. It's different context.
And would Foden been able to do that? Would Foden be able to perform in that team with that Arsenal team? Would he?
Hold on. Yeah, for me, I think he'd probably even do more, because he offers more in his game. Yeah, he offers more in his game. So you've done yourself there, right? For me, the only person in that age range, even Terry, that could even compete with him is unfortunately not in the league anymore. Greenwood, in my opinion, yeah, in the league, he was the only one. No, I'm talking about in the league, bro. I'm talking in the Prem. Okay. Yeah, Greenwood and Foden, they're the only two that I look at and think, yo, for me, Greenwood was better than him, yeah, coming through, yeah. But they're the only two. That's the only guy that could chat to him, because natural ability, Greenwood, left foot, right foot, yeah, the flair, just getting involved in the game. Everything that Foden does, Greenwood could do it as well.
He was elite finisher. He had one thing in his arsenal that was you can't doubt him on. He just give him the ball, left, right, he's putting it bottom corner. I think he has one attribute that he's elite at.
A lot of people in football like to ignore. We know Saka's effective. We're not saying Saka's a bad player. For me, I think Saka could become world class. Yeah, but how you're speaking about him right now is what I say about Saka. You're overrating him. For me, a lot of people like to ignore natural ability. You can't look at Foden and the way Greenwood plays the game and say that Saka can offer what they do in terms of how they just play the game naturally.
Bro, Foden scored on the right yesterday. He scored on the right, and then Pep moved him to the left. He scored on the right. Pep moved him to the left, and he scored from the left. That's adaptability, because you were talking about that adaptability. The one thing that I personally like to rate about players is if you can play multiple positions and if you can play in central positions. Players, to me, who can't play in central positions, I don't rate them as high, because I feel like the middle of the park is always the hardest. When you're anything between a center back, midfielder, or a 9, these are the hardest positions to play because you're thrown in the middle of the park. Foden can play all 3 of them. Now, you saying that Saka would have gotten that position nailed on, that's absolutely insane. And I'll tell you why. Mahrez didn't have that position locked down. Bernardo didn't have that position locked down. Foden didn't have that position locked down. No one, by the way, in that team had any position locked down, bar De Bruyne in that left, in that right /8/10 position where he occupies. Other than that, no one else in that City team, obviously until they got Rodri and they don't have a 6, so that's a different case. No one else just stays in that team. You saying that about Saka? By the way, I rate Saka, and a lot of people always like to say, "Oh, I don't like Saka," but I actually rate him higher than Rashford. So put that conversation to the side.
So do I.
Stop addressing me as a United fan. This is me as a football fan saying this. I rate Saka. He's more of a complete player than Rashford. But when you go to Foden, you can see the things that Foden does: his close control, his ball striking, his creativity, the way he occupies the space in attacking positions. He does so much that we've seen that I haven't seen Saka do. And that's not because Saka's bad. It's because I think Foden just naturally has that ability. And if Saka was, if Foden was in the Arsenal team with the lack of talent that you've had over the years, who's to say that Foden wouldn't have played? I don't know how many games Saka played, 200 something. Who's to say Saka wouldn't have? Foden wouldn't have played those 200 plus. So
I just want to touch on what want to touch on what Don said. The pressure between both clubs is just completely different. With Saka, you're allowed to have a couple of bad games because at the time Arsenal were hovering around 8 or
who's replacing you.
but then when you look at Foden, there is no room for error. You've got to win every single game. You've got to go in and put a minimum 8 out of 10 performance every single week. Otherwise, you're going to get dropped. That's how it is.
Yeah.
And the one thing that Pep is good at is taking care of these players and protecting them. And that's what he's done.
I hear you on that. Viewers, give us your views, give us your opinions on that.